Hi, it's Claire and welcome to Needle Say More. Today I'm going to show you how to turn your fabric scraps into a name garland. So I had all these really small offcuts of Liberty that were just too good to waste. So for the backing of my name garland, I used an offcut from an old duvet cover. The inner layer, to make it 3D, I used wadding. And then I have some templates of different letters, and then I took the bigger scraps that I could find and tried to work out which would be big enough for each letter. So it might take you a bit of time laying them with each letter and figuring it out. Once I decided which bits I was going to use, I moved it all to the corner so I could do this as economically as possible, so I'm not wasting any more fabric. Then I trimmed as close to the letter as I could, just giving me a little bit of an allowance because I was going to pink the edges with the pinking shears. I'm duplicating the letter L to spell Lola, so I'm going to go ahead and use L, and then I'll repeat this process in a little while. Once you've got your 3 layers of fabric laid out and you know that you've got enough to do your template, you're going to draw around the outside of your template using an erasable ink pen or tailor's chalk. So this looks like a normal pen, but it's heat erasable, so once I iron it later, the ink will be removed. So I'm just gently going around the edge of the L to get the correct shape, and then I'm going to pin all 3 layers together, and then I'm going to, in a little while, sew over that line that I've just made. It's worth taking your time and being really accurate at this stage. If the letters aren't straight or if the fabrics slip, it's going to really affect the end look of your name garland. So I would take your time on this and make sure you're as accurate as you can be. So now that I've completed the L and the O, I'm going to use another piece of fabric and I'm going to reuse that first L to do the second L in the name. I'm going to repeat the process that I've already done, draw around it really gently, pin all 3 layers together to create a little kind of sandwich with the wadding in the middle. Once you've traced around the outline of your templates, you can now cut around the letters to make it a little bit easier to stitch it together. So you can see I've got all my letters here. They've all been traced out using the template and it's all really neatly pinned together. To stitch around the letters using your sewing machine, you're going to want to use a straight stitch. I find it easier to have the needle in a central position and line up the pen line with the notch in the middle of my machine. Some people find it easier to have it lined up with the notch on the left hand side, so I'll leave it totally up to you. So you're going to do a straight stitch all the way around the letter on the pen line that you traced around the template. You're going to want to turn on the corners with the needle down and the foot up to keep really sharp right angle on those corners. Make sure you're removing the pins as you go. When you get back to the end, you're going to need to do a reverse stitch to reinforce that stitching so it doesn't come apart when it's on the name garland. Once you've stitched around all of your letters, including the insides of the letters, so the insides of the A, insides of the O, you're going to cut around the outside of the letter, leaving about a 0.5 centimetre gap with a decorative edge scissors. So I'm using pinking shears here, but you can use scalloped edge scissors, and this is going to give a really decorative edge and it's going to stop the fabric from fraying. So you can see here I'm leaving a little gap that's even and consistent all the way around to add a decorative feature to the lettering. You can see the Liberty on the front, the duvet cover on the back, and the wadding is sandwiched in between. To finish the name garland, you can add some string or ribbon. You can sandwich it between the layers, or you can stitch it onto the lettering to allow you to hang it somewhere in a bedroom or on a door. I think this looks fantastic, and I don't think you would know that this is made from leftover scraps from various different projects. Let me know in the comments.